And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. This is BeastControl17 from GGC Legends, and Beast Control is a dolphin, been playing for about a year and a half, and I literally just got the new game update. This is kind of crazy because I did your roster review as far as all my notes, and I'm going through doing all the recordings, and it made me do a forced update, and now boom, we're on the newest thing. So kind of crazy. It shouldn't affect my suggestions that I'm going to be giving to you, because really all you asked about was what territory wars, offensive and defensive teams, and then who you should kind of focus on as far as the next characters, and when you focus on those next characters, what zetas. And so really you've just asked for a very kind of brief tutorial on territory wars teams and the next teams you should follow suit with, and then what zetas are relevant to that. So it shouldn't affect it, but you're doing well in your fleet arena, getting into the top 10 or top 100, and in regular arena it's very competitive. And like I said, you're a dolphin, so it's really hard to be competitive, but you've got a decent team, and you're doing the best that you can there, so not bad. So you said you were working on the Imperial Troopers, and when you were done with that, you didn't know where to go next, and you're wanting me to relevate it all to territory wars, offense and defensive teams. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump right in to the very next team that I believe that you should focus on, and that brand new team that I believe that you should focus on is Night Sisters. That's right. It may not seem like a big deal, but they work really well in territory wars, offense and defense. They work really great in the Sith raid. They work really great in territory battles. They're one of the most versatile dark side teams out there, and they're definitely the highest scoring team out there, even better than JTR teams. And so with that, this is going to help you out tremendously. And if you're looking for nothing else other than territory wars, look no further. This team can chew through teams on offense, and it's a formidable defensive squad. Now you're going to want to Zeta Asajj Ventress lead first. Then you're going to want to do Asajj Ventress's unique and Mother Talzin's unique. Really, those three are the only ones that you need, in my opinion. The extra damage, the speed on Mother Talzin from death, and the lead on Asajj Ventress for all of the buffs there as well are going to be the three Zetas. And so that's your Zeta order. Is if you in fact take my suggestion and go all in on Night Sisters, you're going to need to go all in on that Zeta order with Mother Asajj Ventress first on both of them, and then Mother Talzin. This team will also be made up by Old Daka, and you could Zeta her unique, but it's not necessary. And then your zombie, you're going to want to get your zombie to 7 stars. Leave it at the gear level it is at, and then you're going to want to focus on Talia. Talia's 5-star gear 8. So you've got some work to do. You're about halfway there. Not too shabby. Asajj looks really good. Mother Talzin is pretty good as well, just needs some stars. And then you've got Old Daka stars, but a little bit of gear needed. And Talia really can gear up pretty easy, as well as get the stars pretty easily. So there you go. Talia is going to be a great addition to this team in Old Daka. But definitely work on this team. And then with this team, you're going to be able to go through all aspects of the game and really just knock it out. I know you had mentioned that you didn't know if you should go Night Sisters or Ewoks. And so I wanted to talk about Ewoks for a second. So the first thing is Ewoks can be used in territory battles. You can use them in territory wars offensively, and that's about it. You're really not going to use them in any of the raids anywhere. You might use them in raids in like phase 3 or phase 2 of the Sith raid, but really they're not going to be used in any of the raids, and you're not going to use them on defense for territory wars, just offense. And you, I think, are probably like most people, you're thinking, I've got to develop this team so I can get my Wicket to 7 stars. And to a point, you have to develop them to a point, because you get those 10 Wicket shards every time that event comes around. But my suggestion to you, you are a dolphin, that means you do spend a little bit of money on crystals from time to time, would be to purchase Wicket out of shipments anytime you see him in shipments to get him to 7 stars. I also recommend that for Mother Talzin. You can farm Mother Talzin Wicket, but to speed the process up, just focus on those 2 characters and buy their stuff out of shipments. It's not the best thing to do, but it will speed the progress on those. And if you can get Wicket to 7 stars, it unlocks the Zeta challenge And you could then take in any team for the Zeta Challenge. You don't actually have to use your Ewoks in the second challenge. You only need a 7-star wicket to unlock it, and then you can take whoever you would like. And this team is really far away from being developed. That's another reason why I suggested you go Night Sisters, is they're halfway done. Ewoks are not halfway done. So that is my professional opinion on who you should be focused on next. Night Sisters first, not Ewoks. And then, of course, that's your Zeta order would be your Night Sisters. We're going to go ahead and talk about a couple of side projects really quick, kind of characters you should kind of focus on. And then we're going to talk about territory war teams. So when looking around, you've got some pretty good characters that you've developed. You're working on a number of good characters. When we start to scroll kind of near the bottom, we start to see some characters that have fallen out of favor for you as far as gearing it and stuff. And one of those is Darth Nihilus and Darth Scion. We can see Darth Scion down here at 3 stars, gear 6 or gear 7, and then Darth Nihilus over here at 4 stars, gear 8. Both of those characters are great in every area of the game. They're part of the triumvirate, and that is really the future for a lot of modes in this game, especially for territory wars, offense and defense. And so I would really put them in your favorites and farm them now that, especially the Darth Scion is farmable, and get them to 7 stars and gear them up. And even if their gear rate is low in territory wars, the Darth Nihilus utility of being able to annihilate is still a viable option offensively if you can protect him at the gear level he's at. If not, continue to develop him and you can use him in offense or defense. But Scion is completely viable and usable in territory wars. You just have to get his gear level up. And then I also noticed you have no Jedi Training Ray, but you have everything you need for Jedi Training Ray done and 7 stars. And so what that tells me is you're ready for Jedi Training Ray when she comes back around. That should happen soon, hopefully within the next 2 months, and you'll be able to start kicking some butt. Now let's go ahead and go over some generalized territory wars offense and defensive teams. All right, a number 1 defensive team I really recommend that you focus on aligns with the first team that I actually suggested you work on, and so that's why I'm suggesting it first for these territory war teams, and that's Night Sisters. Night Sisters work really, really great on defense if you build the right composition. On this team, I would replace Talia with Night Sister Spirit for more damage, or you could put in Acolyte in there instead of Spirit. But really, you're going to have to use a Ventress, Talzin, Oldaka Zombie, and then you might even want to put a General Kenobi in with this team to prevent people from using their Imperial Troopers. A lot of people use Imperial Troopers to take this team out. The General Kenobi will really make that difficult for them to do. Not impossible, but difficult. Will really put a hampering on that. Another really great team is, of course, going to be their Ray Jedi training teams with Resistance. And I know you don't have Ray Jedi training yet, but you definitely want to look at your Resistance in a new light. Offensively and defensively, you can build a Resistance team for offense, and you can build a Resistance team for defense. So keep that in mind. That's definitely going to be very, very helpful on both offense and defense. All right, now a really great team that gets lots of bonuses inside of Territory Wars is going to be First Order. So you definitely want to focus on your First Order team as well. Now I know you're getting pulled in a million different directions, so when I give you this list of teams, it doesn't mean you have to develop all of them all at once. It gives you different teams to focus on, and your team will be built up of lots of people playing, 50 people playing, hopefully. And if somebody likes First Order more and you like Resistance more, and you guys can focus on different teams at different times, but you'll at least have teams that you know you need to be focused on and developing. With the First Order team, you're going to want, obviously, Kylo Ren Unmasked as the lead, Zeta eventually once you get him up there, Kylo Ren, First Order Officer if you can get him fast, First Order Stormtrooper, and First Order Executioner. First Order Executioner is a real damage dealer, and Kylo Ren Unmasked is the best lead for the team. Much like another video I did just today where I talked about Territory War teams offensively and defensively, your Empire you can pull at least 2 really solid teams out of. For defense, I would use Emperor Palpatine, kind of the meta, what people are using on the arena with Emperor Palpatine and, you know, Sith Scion and maybe Sith Trooper, Sith Assassin, things like that, kind of a Sithy team for defense. And on offense, I would actually use your Imperial Troopers, and I would probably build some sort of a Thrawn-led team for Empire to be able to go kind of anti-CLS, because Thrawn is kind of anti-CLS and CLS is kind of an anti-Thrawn. Those are kind of two counters to each other. So Thrawn-led teams would be good. But the reason why I'm not being super specific in what team comp to build is because it really depends on what you pull from where. If you're going to do a Thrawn-led team, you'd probably want to pair them up with Shore Trooper, Death Trooper, and possibly Director Krennic, although I see you don't have Director Krennic yet. For Emperor Palpatine, you may want to have him paired up with Darth Nihilus and Darth Sion, although those aren't ready yet. If you do Grand Admiral Thrawn as a lead, you could also include Grand Moff Tarkin on that team for a bunch of debuffing, and he's pretty quick and he can hit pretty decently, just like TIE Fighter Pilot. Or you could put TIE Fighter Pilot under Emperor Palpatine on defense, and man, he hits like a truck and he goes a ton, so he'd be really good. With the foresight, makes it really hard to hit him because he gets foresight percentage chance from all the debuffing, and so he's just pretty much always going to live with foresight, so he works really well under Emperor Palpatine. So you kind of have to get creative, but Empire can be used for offense and defense. And again, Rebels are the same way as Empire, and there's even more team comps that you can build on here, from a Rogue One team, a Phoenix team. Those are teams you could kind of put on defense, to hybrid teams with like Commander Luke, Han Solo, Chirrut and Baze. You could use that team offensively or defensively. We get lots of people that use it defensively, but you could use it offensively as well. You could use it as the anti-Thrawn team to kind of go against Thrawn with the buff immunity and stuff from Commander Luke. Works really well because most Thrawn teams have a couple tanks, and so that's going to kind of help with the buff immunity. And so CLS and the Rebels very specifically, there's just a ton of team comps in here. Don't forget Biggs and Wedge offensively, not defensively, but offensively. That's really high DPS, and you're going to need that to chew through some teams. So remember, that little duo can go into kind of anything offensively, and as long as you put a tank or two to protect them and a good leader, you'd be really surprised what Biggs and Wedge alone can do in territory wars. As far as, you know, like more offensive sides, you could be using some teams that include like Rex as a leader with Wampa underneath and Mother Talzin underneath. Those are teams that are being used in Arena as we speak, and that would be a really great offensive squad. But Rex with Wampa underneath, it's really great if you're going against a CLS-led Rebel team. Wampa works really great against any team that you're going against that has Rebels, just because of the double damage. So there's that. You could use your Imperial Troopers, obviously, to kind of be an anti-Night Sister squad, or you could use your Troopers to be an anti-Thrawn. I have beat Thrawn teams a multitude of times with my Imperial Troopers. They're just that good. They're just a really, really great team, and they do really, really well. The only time they get hung up is if there's two tanks on a Thrawn team, and so keep that in mind. If you're building a Thrawn-led team, you might want to put two tanks on that team, because there's just not a way to get around tanks really with the Imperial Troopers. It's difficult anyway. And obviously, you know, Ewoks work well on offense. We know your Ewoks aren't really up to snuff, but this is an offensive team a lot of people use. So it's just one more thing that you can kind of use. And I mentioned the Wampa already, and you've got him, you know, amazing, looking really pretty good. But you can also pair him up with Darth Vader and Boba Fett, and all of the damage over times with Darth Vader lead. It just gets crazy. Now, you don't have Darth Vader's lead Zeta, and I would recommend that Zeta for territory wars, just so that way the dots don't leave. It's a really great anti-CLS, but it's also a great anti-everything. Wampa does massive damage. That's a really great team with either a Rex lead or a Darth Vader lead with Wampa underneath. Just really, really good. And of course, bounty hunters as well could be used. Don't worry about where your characters are all at. What I spewed was a ton of offensive and defensive team comps. Just know that you're going to have to pick one and work towards it. And so, like I said, the first one that I would suggest is, of course, the Asajj Ventress-led Night Sisters, because you're really close to being done. And then once you get that done, you'll be able to move forward with other teams. Beast Control, you're doing really well. I know Arena is tough, but you're hanging in there. You're doing what you can. Hopefully a newer meta is around the corner. Definitely continue to focus on your characters, continue to get resistance up there. You're gonna lean in on resistance over the next 6 months in Arena. I'm telling you, with all of the Treyas coming out, you're gonna want a Finn-led resistance team so you can climb through those teams. So also keep resistance in your back pocket is something you're going to want to develop over the next 4 to 6 months as well, just like you are with your Night Sisters. And everything else looks really good. You're doing well in Fleet. Beast Control, if you have any questions, hit me up. Everybody, if you have suggestions for him or unique compositions for Territorial Wars, leave them in the comments down below and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.